This is a 10-minute video that documents our 10-day expedition to Denali, the highest point in North America. Included in the video is Beuke and narrated by Sam. Here's a snapshot of my gear for the trip. There's another snapshot of my food for the trip. We flew from Denver to Anchorage, and the hardest part of the trip was definitely missing my family. Physically, mentally, no major challenges, but sure did miss my wife and kids. Here's Donnie on the plane, and from Anchorage we took a bus to Talkeetna. We stayed at the Denali Fireside Inn. We spent less than 24 hours in Talkeetna, but had a great time. We had an awesome breakfast at the Roadhouse before the climb, and a few beers the night before to carb load up. We flew with Talkeetna Air Taxi, and the flight was just amazing. We flew to a glacier called Coffee Glacier to drop off some Wounded Warrior veterans, and at that point the plane we were riding in got stuck. So imagine that. Just a nice video clip of the area we were flying over. So when we landed on the Coffee Glacier, we got stuck in about 3 to 4 feet of fresh powder, and actually had to dig the plane out and stomp out
so we landed on the Coffee Glacier, and dropping off a couple other folks.
Don't land.
The plane got buried in the snow, so I think we have to unload and dig it out.
The Coffee Glacier was a beautiful place. The flights through Alaska show the amazing glaciers. And this is actually landing at Denali Base Camp, so just past a train full of about 8 climbers. There's a few more climbers off in the distance. They're all headed back to base camp as we're arriving at base camp. It was a pretty amazing way to get around in Alaska. That's base camp. There's probably, I don't know, 40 or 50 people at base camp at any given time.
Alright, so here we are at base camp on the Talkeetna Glacier. A few folks getting ready to head out. Bunch of guys chillaxing. Right in front of us is the little pee hole. And in the Wand City is all the caches that people have left to pick up on their way back down. Back over there is the National Park Service. Oh, here we got the base camp manager, Lisa. Big old group of RMI folks, guided group came in. Here's the runway, so what you land on. Pretty sweet. So that's how you take off in Alaska. Pretty sweet. So this is base camp.
We took off from base camp at about 9 p.m. and hiked up to Camp 1, landed in Camp 1 at about 1 a.m. We slept for a few hours, got up the next morning, and hiked on to Camp 2 at 11,000 feet. Once we hit Camp 2, we got stuck in about a 4-day storm, so we spent some good time in the tent, read some good books, and basically just chillaxed. Once the storm broke, we headed to 14.
there's the West Buttress. And that little couloir there is the fixed lines. And then there's 3 people coming down. So that's the west over there. Again, a little bit of the West Buttress. That's where we came up from yesterday. That is Mount 4 Acre. That's Mount Hunter. And that's our little peeing area. Pretty sweet. Cold, windy.
The views at 14,000 foot camp at Camp 3 Basin Camp were just amazing. We got to walk over to the edge of the world, a little area with some scenic views.
Alright, so this is looking down from the edge of the world. That's the Cowhitna Glacier down there. You can just barely make out the 7800 camp.
We got good views of Mount 4 Acre and Mount Hunter, which are 2 neighboring mountains to Denali. We spent one day at 14,000 and then the next day hiked up to 16,800, cached some food. One night there was actually an avalanche that came pretty close to the basin camp. Once we got our food cached, the next day we hiked up to 17,000.
Alright, so here we are up on Denali, where there's the base camp. There's 4 Acre. We're headed up here. We're behind a pretty big group, and right in front of that person in the front are the fixed lines that go up about a 55 degree ice slope. So anyways, we're gonna hang here and I guess wait for our turn up the fixed lines. That's the ridge across. That little thumb right there is where we cached yesterday.
Once you get past the fixed lines, you hit the knife edge ridge that leads over to Camp 4, which is the 17,000 foot camp. We stayed one night at 17 and pushed on up to the summit the next day. The summit was just absolutely amazing.
So, this is the top of Denali. Woohoo! Hardest mountain I've ever climbed. Some marker somewhere down there. Yes. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, look at that. Shoot. It's crazy. Crazy.
Temperatures on the summit were well below zero with a very strong, like 30-mile-an-hour wind, so we didn't spend too much time up there, but enjoyed the views, and then we headed back down. So we made it back down to 17,200. Brewed up some water, had a little break, and then carried on down that same night down to the 14,000 foot camp. Coming down the ridge was just amazing. We caught it at about midnight, which is about sunset up there, although it never actually gets dark. So one night at 14,000, and then the next day we hiked all the way back down to base camp at 7,000 feet. It's a long day, but well worth it to get down and get on a plane and get out of Denali. Just an amazing hike down too. It was clear, so we could see all of the stuff we missed hiking up. Took the plane out, landed back in Talkeetna, and had a few good days in Talkeetna and Anchorage, and then back to see the family.